Hello everybody, welcome back for another episode. Here last week we looked at the USGS product TopoView to download topographic maps and look at how you find a topographic map. And I talked a little bit about the construct of a topographic map in terms of it is a two-dimensional product that shows three dimensions, and the third dimension is elevation, and it is represented on the maps by the contour lines. And so I thought, it might be fun and useful, and my students will also use it as well, is to go through how to construct a topographic profile to where you can actually see the topography. So we're going to jump over to TopoView, look at a quadrangle, and then we'll go ahead and do a quick profile and see what a straight line on the map, what it looks like in three dimensions. Okay, and here we are at TopoView, and if you recall, it comes up with a map that you can set on this scale over here to what size map you want. Again, if I put 1 to 63,000, then the names over here are according to that scale. So the traditional map, the most common, is the 1 to 24,000 scale. And here are the names of the 1 to 24,000 scale maps in the Black Hills area. And I'm going to go into the Nemo area, which is right here. And again, we see a list of all these products. Let's take a look at the 2015 map. And it loads up. This is the full quadrangle. Again, roughly 36 square miles. And we see it's a 20-foot contour interval. And we see, X distance or distance on the ground, and east-west and north-south, and then the contour lines on here represent topography, so 5,200 feet elevation. And since this is a 20-foot contour, then every fifth line is a dark line, either 100 feet lower or 100 feet higher. So here we're at 5,200 feet. There's a creek down here, so I assume we're going downhill. So this is 5,200 feet. This next brown line is going to be 5,100 feet. So if we follow it along, pretty soon we get 5,100 feet. And then we're 2.5 contour lines below that down to the creek, so roughly 5,050 feet elevation at the creek. Okay, so if you're used to using topo maps, you can kind of figure this out and see it in that third dimension in your mind. What we're going to do is I'm going to print out this section of the map right here at a scale where I can locate this hill right here across the valley, across this creek up to Pilot Knob. And the scale at the bottom of the map will give us our straight line distance across that. And then the contour lines gives us our elevation, and we will be able to draw that profile on a piece of paper and see what it looks like in that third dimension. So let's get to it. Okay, so I downloaded the Nemo quadrangle and tried to film this on paper that I printed out, and it didn't work very well. So I'm going to try to do it on Word. So I loaded up this image on Word that you see here. And we want to go from this hilltop here over to Pilot Knob, just that little distance right there. We can check the scale later to see how far that is. But the first thing we want to do is we want to insert and shapes and this line. And then we click on the left end, which is on this side, and then draw this line over to Pilot Knob and let go. And that puts a line in there. So what we want to do now is along this line, we want to put a tick mark at every contour crossing. So let's use a fine chisel point here, very thin, and let's make it red so we can see it, and see if we can draw a little tick at each of these crossings. Kind of. And then there's 5 of them here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I missed on that one a little bit. And this contour line goes under these section lines and things over here. I'm going to say it's somewhere right in here. And there's one. There's one. Back up the hill. Let's see, that's that one, that one. There's one more, and then the hilltop. So that's how you draw the profile along that line. You put a tick at every one of the contour crossings, and then what you want to do, and this is much easier to do on a piece of paper, I'm not going to be able to freehand it here, but underneath each of those lines, you just coming down this way, you would write the elevation of that line. Okay, and the next step then is to go to a sheet of paper, a blank paper, using this line, because that's a length now set to the scale of the paper, and then in the X direction, so this would be 0 feet and then so many feet to the east, and then that's your X scale, and then your Y scale is going to be elevation, and your elevation so you come in from this point to your first tick, and that is X number of feet, and at elevation, you come up to that elevation, you put a point, and then you come over to this elevation, and you come up and you put a point, and then this elevation, put a point, and you have an XY scale with each of these crossings represented as where they are in elevation with that distance, and then when you get done, you just draw a line, you connect the points, and you have a profile. So I am going to jump out to a piece of paper and do this, and then come back and show you what the final product is like. Okay, so I drew a straight line on the map between the 2 points that we wanted to make a profile between, and then I put a piece of paper down and went across and made tick marks where the profile line crossed a contour line, and that looks something like this. And then once you get that done, I draw an XY scale or an XY graph to scale, and using a straight edge and a angle, so I can make straight lines, and have an x-axis and a y-axis, and use the scale off the topographic map to put the horizontal distance. So this went from 0 feet, there's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. So the length across that valley is somewhere probably around 1,800 feet, with an elevation change of 1 to 200 or so feet. And this is to scale, and so the topography doesn't show very dramatically. I could expand that scale and make it a 2 or 3 times vertical exaggeration, but that would show a much more steep topography, but it wouldn't be realistic. So this is what it looks like in that third dimension. So we go from the topographic map where we see the contours, and then we can draw this third dimension, or the vertical, in here. So that's how you do a profile. I'm sorry that the light on here is not that great. Maybe I should try something like that. That's a little better. But that's what a profile looks like. That's how you draw one. You can see all the little dots in there where I made those connections between where the contour line crosses the section line, and this is the result. So a very standard product in any type of terrain analysis is looking at that third dimension, that profile that comes off of the topographic map. All right, so if you've done that before, great. If you haven't, give it a shot. It's free. You can do it. If you're bored, you just sit and grab a piece of paper and a map and start playing with it. So hope this was useful. Thanks for watching. See ya.